team like Gen.G, but we are going ahead right into the game, guys. Take it away. Mina is going to be the first point of contact, dashing into his own smoke towards the A side, but it's being traded off here by Gen.G. Paint shells from Sean. We talked about him before. He doesn't get a kill with his weapon, but the arsenal is good enough. But Mina has pushed forward, has up two, lines up two rather, and dinks a few, but only gets one kill. At least the spike has been planted, but Gen.G still has a 1-man advantage here, Lex.
Low HP on the Rays, and this is one of those situations where I think for Equinox, you almost want to get proactive. You peek an elbow, trying to find the kills.
One player standing.
Takes all the DXN in a desperate turn. Almost gets the better of Win. However, the Jet prevails. Gen.G takes pistol, map 3 on split.
That's a great way to start. You see right now from having those extra flashes from a breach on a retake right now for Gen.G seems to pay off quite well for them, right? You saw that first flashpoint that came through, then a paranoia, the fault line that hit a couple of players, and an aftershock. So that means thinking forward, when Gen.G, maybe if they want to keep playing these retakes that we kind of saw versus Equinox on that first map on Haven, playing that elbow or holding the elbow side is going to be so difficult for any of the players on the attack on a pulse plan. And that could be the similar storyline once Equinox are going to play the defender side on retake too, right? And indeed, you see that force buy coming through from Equinox. Let's see what we get out of this.
Yeah, another fast A play coming out from Equinox. I mean, this is something that Mina seems to be doing better than any other Jet in NA, which is these dash plays into bomb sites, creating space. Cute fat boy finds one at a GMD, now a 5-on-4. And they have possession of the bomb site. So for Equinox now, this is a matter of fending off a 4v5 retake. Sorry, excuse me, for post plant. I think for Gen.G right now, like you have the force buy coming in from Equinox, and this is already like a desperate scenario for Gen.G, right? Like this is 4v5, and you don't even have top of A ramp control. Mina here is so deadly. Any moment now he's going to be coming out, finding one on a PL1, and I almost wonder if you just save here.
Yeah.
Mikael actually pressing into the bomb site, finds one, Win, 1v3. 2 players are hurt on the other side of Equinox, but I don't think he knows that. That said, first kill, not going to go his way, and Equinox forcing, following a pistol round, being able to force and just rush into the A bomb site. I mean, creating that much space with a Jet, especially when we're talking about having SMGs and pistols in hand, can be so almost shocking. Like you're stunning at A main with the express purpose of shutting down an immediate A rush. Now, of course, I hope that in this next update or whatever that we're going to see Breach have that, faster load time for the fault line for that exact reason. Like being able to get in front of that utility and just have a free bomb site is obviously a strength of a player like Mina. The fearlessness to be able to do that wins them around right there. So for me, I think, Equinox, they've been doing this on every single map where they have this fast blitz play with the Jet. And Gen.G on Ascent and now Split have not had an answer for it. So DXN spotting the aggression out, and I think it's only Mikael that's going to pick up a kill on a decop. Yeah, so this is 3 kills quickly coming for Equinox, and Gen.G, probably another lost round here.
Yeah, the rest is just going to be a matter of time before the last players fall down, especially with that dark cover towards Mail. And as they peek out, they hear the footsteps possibly of these guys rotating back towards the A site. So just to reflect back on that previous round here, Lex, they did throw the fault line earlier on, though, from GMD, from the elbow, and it did slow down a few players, but they had nothing else to chime in onto that. Nobody peeked out towards the window. They didn't look out towards A ramp. So you couldn't really take advantage of the fault line that actually stunned a few players from Gen.G. And when you were saying, would it have been a good idea to maybe save their weapons? I think so. Because it was a 5 versus 4 in favor of Equinox. That means that they all keep their stingers into this round with possibly just one player who had a ghost that's going to upgrade. So that means you still have a potential with Gen.G going Spectres versus Stingers into the next round should Equinox decide to say, look, we're going to keep working with these bonus rounds in this economy that we built up, and maybe Gen.G could turn it around. It all depends what happens there for the theory crafting for that team, if they wanted to upgrade or not for Equinox, but I think the save would have been the right call for Gen.G in that previous round.
I think you're absolutely right. And one of the more interesting things that I think you'll see as this game kind of grows and develops, and I'll say years here, and this is the scope that I'm speaking of, literally years.
Me too.
When players start to figure out, kind of as you're describing, how to game the money system to be most efficient.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of criticism about MR12, and in fact, some of it may have come from me at one point. But there's so much criticism about MR12 in regards to how this game is played with ultimates and how random the results sometimes end up looking and how the matches sometimes play out. You know, it can really seem like, oh man, it's a lopsided game and it just is over too quick and the other team doesn't have a chance. But it's also a matter of being smart with your economy. And speaking to your point, it's a very nuanced thought process when we're talking about, okay, we're going to think about this as like a lost round now that we have lost the map control and we don't have an opening and they have the bomb site, right?
Yep.
So being able to keep the Spectres, right? Like that is something that even I just blew my mind thinking about right now, Vencilli, is just like, okay, they're going to bonus their stingers. Let them keep it, right? This is not a situation where we need to have like, you know, every kill counts and we just stop their economy. Okay, fast play from Mina coming up mid. Forget what I was talking about. Already containing the presence at B to what is the bomb site, essentially. They have B Heaven, and PL1 is poised with the crossfire over here with Sean. So this is going to be another one of those timing scenarios where PL1 is kind of forced into an awkward spot, and Sean needs to react appropriately with his utility to support. If the kills don't come out, or if they're caught off guard at odd timings, this will be disastrous for Gen.G. But okay, as I say that, we do have GMD here with some sick flashes ready to be thrown towards B Heaven if the push does come.
Same thing for Decop, right? He has the position at male, and as they're walking back here towards his male side, it's going to be flash after flash. Going to be one of those rounds where you're probably going to see 6 flashes getting blown up here towards his B Heaven, where it will blind PL1 at lower ramp, at hell side right here, and here comes the execution to move through. A fault line is going to hurt GMD. He's going with the flash punch, but the crossfire is still perfect here for Gen.G, and 4 immediately fall, leaving only 1 at the B main, and that's 2 Fat Boy. Cyber Cage is out, and he gets popped by Sean with a 4K on top of that.
Okay.
Salvation for Equinox is that they still had that bonus round in their favor, but Gen.G definitely showed a stop on that B Heaven side hold.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, that is exactly what we need to see out of Sean on this race here in this final map, right? Like that is, you know, your effectiveness as a player sometimes when you're switching around agents, I'm sure like your comfort level might not be there. Maybe you're like switching around roles, which he's new to the team, right? This is why I'm prefacing this way. To be able to be in that kind of a scenario where obviously he's not in control of it. It's a lot of that's dictated by both PL1 and GMD in that setup, but they're utilizing him in the correct spot, basically, to be able to be effective with that raise. And that was just a hats off to them. You know, the patience, the ability to hold that ground and not give up any flashes, not give up any kind of like blindness to your team. Everybody's doing what they need to be doing and peaking at the same time. That was just beautiful out of Gen.G. Well played to them.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just one more round, as you mentioned, coming off of the bonus. Full weapons coming out from Equinox, even an op on Mina. And, you know,
cover going up.
The slow plays up to B Heaven, I think we're going to see a lot this half.
Yeah, and I think
this is going to be a test for Sean.
And this is 2 rounds in a row that he's playing this spot here, Lex. So if they try to adapt to this, especially that they have a breach from Decop, if you're flashing from B main into the pillar area, Sean is fully blinded, and you're really going to be able to capitalize on somebody playing towards hell, and or even just cross over the site and let them come to you in those rounds. So we'll see how the round will continue to evolve with Gen.G's defense and how Equinox will continue to express and develop their
30
offensive
seconds
side.
left.
And it starts things off with a fake.
Fake?
Yeah, B Heaven fake definitely. Decop with the Rolling Thunder, but they're not moving here. They're running with so many footsteps, and you have Wind. He hears all of this. He sprays the first kill onto Mina, and that's also the spike down. So again, the jig is up where you have a chance for Gen.G to already go for an immediate rotate with 13 seconds left on the clock, and we're only starting to plant
10
now.
seconds
But
left.
Fat Boy was in a great
Spike
position,
planted.
but PL1 does not do the mistake of not checking that corner. Same thing for Mikael, but a little bit too late. Pancakes, by the way, playing as a Raze when he's usually playing as an Omen, and you're putting DXN on the Omen instead. Here comes a retake from Gen.G. 4 players moving forward, all from the spawn, and Win and Sean are going to work once again, and they get the defuse to make it 3-2.
I'm impressed with Gen.G's discipline right there. Obviously, there was some movement when that ult does get popped, but it was almost immediate where the comms come out that there was presence towards A mains, footsteps here. You know, this is the Win at the top of A ramp, not getting caught out by any British utility. is able to collect the kill onto Mina and actually deal a ton of damage to cute Fat Boy moving into the site. At that point, unfortunately for Equinox, you have your entry fraggers down, your next line of attack basically is 9 HP, and your breach is on the other side of the map rotating over from the fake. So at that point, it just, unfortunately for them, it just seemed like they had caught nobody off guard, at least not well enough to capitalize on map control. And although I liked the fake, I think it's only a matter of time before Equinox kind of realizes the way that, you know, Gen.G is opting to almost give up the B bomb site itself in a lot of these situations. You know, the Omen is there behind pillar now, but you know, as far as the breach goes, like you said, flashing through the pillar, the B pushes get so strong and so scary, especially when you have Raze and Jet in your arsenal. Equinox quickly moves onto the bomb site, uncontested. A little bit of damage getting traded out, but ultimately just a clean take, and the bomb will go down for free.
That was still well done there for Mikael with that smoke, or should I say the paranoia, because as soon as he hears the showstopper and also the blade storm, not the blade storm, sorry, just a showstopper that comes out, he's able to go with the paranoia to push everybody back and also go for a blind shot for the showstopper where Gen.G could play the rotate on this broken buy that you have from Equinox, and they're closing in very well for Gen.G as they're dropping them one by one. Only a crossfire setup, which is perfect for Equinox, but the positions are given away, but they're still holding their grounds. Decomp gets a 4K out of that one when they knew exactly where the last player was at. Utility was probably gone at that point here, Lex, and Equinox resolved that perfectly.
I'm sitting here prepping my thoughts. I'm like, these retakes are so much better than they were in the last map. Finally, Gen.G's coming in with a clean round here, and like I saw the, you know, Mina got dinked. It's like, there's no way.
Yep.
Decop holding steady in the backside. That's just one of those, you know, high pressure situations where the clock's ticking. It's a 2-on-2. You know you're at a disadvantage, and they know where you are. It just comes down to some grit. Right, like this is hit your shots, like knuckle up, and this is it. Like you have to hit that, and both those kills came in very cleanly. Gen.G was looking to be almost like an easy retake, as I was talking about. It just didn't pan out that way. Win comes out, however, a little bit angry about the outcome of the last round, finds an entry for his team, and that is, you know, as we see this half develop, I wonder whether or not we're going to see Equinox kind of continue to ignore B main, and if that's the case, I think that's kind of a. What's tough about that is it gives Mina so much more focus on Win so much more focus on where he needs to be to find these entries. And so far, right, like Equinox is a team that is going together on the map. They're playing a lot of the time with 3 or 4 men grouped up, and the operator picks that apart with ease if you don't know where he's going to be at. So nice kill coming out from inside of Gen.G to finally. I almost spoke too soon to almost get the kill before the side push comes out, but Mina has other plans. So, you know what? I'm stumbling over my words at this point, Van Silly, because these guys, they're playing games that are, it's so impressive to watch.
Yeah.
The presence of mind to know, like, okay, we're just going to sit here and wait for him to peek because he plays there. We know that.
Still a 4 versus 4, though.
Yeah. A push coming out through heaven. Win whipping one. It'll cost PL1 holding steadfast in the back of the bomb site. Falls to spam. Through the sign, unfortunate. But now Gen.G in a 2v3 is looking rough. What really was a promising start, as I mentioned, with beautiful operator frag. And now it's a 2-on-2. GMD eating paint. Not quite enough damage getting put out onto him to make it feel threatened. Guns are not going to get saved. They're going to go for it here. Stealing sight. Fault line coming onto sight. Paranoia comes out. Doesn't catch either. Doesn't matter. GMD and Mikael prevail. Two thick, crisp, juicy frags coming out for Gen.G. 4-to-3 now. Defensive side split. I think as we've kind of seen this map evolve, getting a little bit more attack sided, but getting 4 rounds early in this half, I think Gen.G's looking strong, Van Silly.
I think they're looking good as well. Right now, when you see the evolution of how split is being played these days, and I talked about it at the pregame, long time ago before we started this BO3, but not having a Sage anymore in the composition and also adding an extra flash for Breach definitely shows that a map like Split, when it's close quarters, where it's going to be easy flashes for you to take corners, for example, from Male into B Heaven, you're going to see these type of fast executions off the utility of Breach. And it definitely shows into this round, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. We're just trying to change the pace for Equinox so far, pushing aggressively towards this mid side, but they didn't have like some sort of a save going on, so they were just trying to catch them off guard. And Sean goes with another 4K on top of that. So just to add a little bit more here, Lex, at the same time is, I think Equinox is still doing a great job to weaken the defense of Gen.G to start the rounds off. Why? Because when you said that they kind of gave B slight, Miguel was still holding at the beginning. But when he threw a paranoia, nobody else was there to capitalize on that. And it's the same thing that I saw from Gen.G on round number 2 when the fault line came out on the A side and nobody came out to try to get some sort of a trade on or an opener for Gen.G, therefore giving a lot of map control for Equinox where they're looking to play a retake again, and Equinox comes out winner on top of that so far every single time. So they have to try to add a little bit more one more ingredient into their hold into the sites to actually prevent Equinox from getting these plants. But so far it seems like the key ingredient could be for Gen.G 5 ultimates to hold their grounds.
Yeah, moving the Cypher over at B, I think in a lot of these scenarios doesn't really stop an Equinox push, right? Like you can still jet dash in, clear out trips. You have Breach that is just like going to destroy that bomb site with blindness and other things. But I wonder whether or not, you know, the strength of what Gen.G was just showing us for the past few rounds, having the raise there, it's not so much that Sean needs to like make tremendous plays. Like he's been sitting in crossfires a lot of the time, even though Equinox knows he's there. I think it's more the threat of running into paint shells, whatever. Forget that. Push comes in, Pancakes, Showstopper comes out. Satchel charges out of sight. Doesn't find anybody yet. Might just let it loose. There it goes into the face of Win. That's a direct rocket. Pancakes circling around the site. GMD finds one, but he's quickly pinched. 3 on 4 now. Equinox has found the bomb site, has found the advantage, has found the bomb plant. And, you know, for Gen.G, just use their paranoia. Not sure what utility is left on Raze, but Sean surely needs to be a key component for this retake to work.
On top of that, too, the paranoia is trying to take down screen, thinking somebody was pushing forward, but they're not there.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not they're still considering going for this. It seems like they are. But nothing free given out by Equinox yet. A lot of discipline. Showstopper finds one, Miguel finds another. Oh! Pancakes is just too good. Holding strong on the bomb site. Picks up 2. Mina circles around, finds the 3rd. PL1 falls. And for Gen.G, this A play, we have not seen them successfully stop it a single time. And this is what I was saying. They were struggling so hard on Ascent. Just to stop Mina or slow him down at B. The sidewalk was always an open lane for map control for you know, Equinox to just dash down, find a kill. Even if he dies, it doesn't matter. You've created that much space for your team. And there on the A bomb site, we see it again, where just the dash comes in, the fight is already in the face of Gen.G, and they're just not ready for it. You know, whether or not it means they need to play more passive or retake, you know, I don't have the answers, but they're going to need to come up with something quick here. I mean, this is 5-4 now. One round after another, it seems like Gen.G's getting countered out, and they just come right back. Mikael getting an uncontested frag onto Mina. It's almost like her aggression sometimes, you know, it is Jet after all, but that aggression costs them. You know, not having the refrag there is just painful, but
I
it is what it is.
Because I heard a flashpoint come out too, and when there was a 1-versus-1 fight in the front, he actually wasn't even blinded for GMD. So maybe that, or should I say Mikael, maybe that's the reason why. But a full line to come into the B site, coming out of the shadows as well from a shadow step from the Omen to make it inside the site as well. We're looking for this plant, and we're looking for repositioning. You saw how a little bit kerfuffle it was there for Equinox to move inside that site. Finally, as they move out of their positions, they're finally going to get the spike down, but it's still a one-man advantage, and they can go for a kill early here and throw the hat out to get the last 2 players. So they're trying their best to just to keep DL1 alive on this retake, while 3 of them are moving up towards Heaven's side. Now they're closing in. It's smoked out towards the back of the site, so DXN is on his own towards... Actually, they're playing the bait switch. He goes to the white side, he gets the kill. 3 of them fall. So it's a 2-versus-1, at least with the bodies falling. We know where the last player is at least the last 2 players. So GMD is on a 1-versus-1. He's trying to clear out the back of the site. Low HP as DXN gets the wall bang. Well done here for GMD. So close for Equinox at that point. But is it close on time? Is it going to be the same scenario? It will not be. Gen.G will be able to get the defuse. And they're up 6-4.
Man, that was looking dicey for a second. I believe that was DXN on site.
Yep.
Locking down a couple of kills there. I mean, for Equinox to somehow maybe control this half or make it 6-6, I think Gen.G is showing weaknesses, right? Like they've shown weaknesses at A, they've shown weaknesses at B, and what time and again has shown that they want to be comfortable retaking. And I don't know whether it's just by nature it's split or the agents that are in play, but I'm just kind of in my mind now positing that, you know, in that post-plant scenario, Gen.G just letting it come down to a 1v1, like that's not consistent. That's not something that you can bank your money on consistently. However, these opening kills, Mikael finding another, I think it's like the third round in a row where we've seen it a 5-on-4 pretty early for Gen.G. It seems to be making a pretty significant difference. I mean, I'm just the idea that Equinox is already in a stranglehold over here at B main, and there's no reason for Gen.G to be doing anything, you know, drastic. They need to patiently wait for Equinox to show their hand, and they're going to go for this B play once more. But this time, there's no Mina dash. They just got to walk contact out, and Sean's going to find one free one. Whiffs the second one, but still in a commanding position to defend this bomb site with Mikael. He will fall, but 4-on-2. Pancakes and DXN putting the bomb down cleanly. There is a breach ult, and it's a 4-on-2. So this is definitely an Equinox. It'd be a desperate move here for them to be able to win it, but Pancakes is already in position to do so. And double pushing the flank on Heaven here. What do you think, Fantilly?
It was going to be a double push on Heaven first, but they decide to split out. So there's only going to be Pancakes at the pillar. He's affected by it, but DXN is in a great position right now. Even Wisp first, but GMD was there for the trade and the second one. That's good enough. The defuse will come through, and Gen.G, they did a perfect retake. When we talked about retakes on their end, there was that one round, Lex, maybe I think it was the third round, where it came down to Decop in our crossfire setup where Decop got a 4K. And that was just because the smokes weren't deep enough. And you saw a small difference of how they played the smoke on a retake. Not the previous round, but the one before that. It went all the way towards deep of the site where they were able to get those kills. And this time, as they keep trying to push forward on these retakes for Gen.G, that's what's paying off in their favor, at least for these B-side retakes. On the A side, though, it's been very successful for Equinox with the, as you mentioned before, the aggressive jet dashes into the site, trying to nullify GMD, playing as a breach towards the A side. They're going to try that again.
Yeah, Mina's on site. It's already pressuring everybody back, and this just doesn't even matter. Like, this is not a winning solution to just sit back and try and catch the jet. Unfortunately, it cost them there. Equinox already up 5v3 with a bomb planted on the A bomb site. There's no daylight for Gen.G right now. They're going to have to claw this round back into the light, and unfortunately, it's just that play is so powerful, and the fact is they just haven't reacted properly to it in this half. DXN finding another kill in this round on to Sean, and that's probably going to wrap it up here. We just have player one in a 1v5. And while I'd love to see an ace clutch, I just think this attack half, you know, if Equinox had maybe stuck to their guns with what was working a few more of these rounds, this definitely could have been a more commanding half for them. But 5 rounds is nothing to
switching sides,
you know, wag your finger at. So I'll just say this: Gen.G with some excellent retakes in that first half, really surprising me with the rebound from Ascent. What are your thoughts, man, Silly?
I think at this point, you saw how successful it was for Equinox on those A holds, false plan situation, getting into the site. When I talked about how difficult it would be to actually have to retake the site towards the A side because you have the breach flashpoints, because you have the fault lines on the retakes, because you have the paranoia that we saw in the pistol round. I think maybe how Gen.G could have maybe adapted on how they could maybe retake the A side better was not to have GMD play so deep inside the A side every single time out in the open where a jet dash seems to be coming into fruition every time for Equinox there. So there was no adaptation on Gen.G on the A side holds, but thankfully for them, as Equinox tried their hand quite a few times towards B, was how we saw Gen.G amass so many rounds here on that first half. Now that they take the attacker side though, we could still see a different storyline as Equinox on their defender side could probably still have a perfect hold too.
B push gets thwarted by an excellent fault line. Mina gets a little aggro over at B main because of one dink. And unfortunately, there's a second teammate to back that player up. Mina will fall, 5v4 now. Gen.G with a few players who literally have no HP or are already pretty significantly damaged. So, you know, moving over to the other bomb site is a little bit of a risk, right? None of these gunfights are you going to be able to just overpower and overwhelm coming up that ropes area if there's a defender there. They decide to think better of it and move back towards B. D-Cop now front and center with his breach. Needs to hit his shots. He does get one on a GMD. Pancake chimes in as well. Now it's a 1-on-2. Sean now in a 1v1. And it's Keith Fatboy on the other side that just needs to close this round out for Equinox. He knows exactly where each other are. The nade comes out. Woo! And surely Sean does not fail the kill. It is not 4 beautiful kills coming out from Sean. And moving into that B area, it seemed as though Mina thought he just blew up their strat.
Yep.
Like taking that gunfight, pressing after it. I like the confidence. I love the aggression. Unfortunately, it wasn't the play.
But
and so here we are.
You said it like, sorry, because Mina, yes, he was chasing after that first kill because he got the dink. Even though he died, they still put so much pressure and holding Gen.G's push on the male side that you had 3 guys actually fully damaged as soon as the action calmed down. So technically, Equinox on that hold, especially to see the players pushing up towards that B heaven, it should have been an easier hold on their side. Counter flashes came through. You saw that when the breach actually peeked out, Decop looked towards B heaven. 3 or 4 of them were blinded, but he got tapped by a fault line coming in from G&D, which allowed them, despite being flashed, get those kills and capitalize on the trades later on into the site. So I just think that Gen.G, not necessarily were lucky when they got into the site, but the numbers advantage that they had, despite low HP, was the key factor in the end, where Equinox, they did have the strategy blown, but it just didn't add to it later on when they lost Mina.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely significant. You're right. And ultimately, you know, when we're talking about the breach and his ability, like you said, Decop was in the right place, had the right utility, used it properly, and he did get caught by the fault line. But that is kind of what is so unforgiving about breach, at least in his current state, is that a lot of his animations are very slow. A lot of the times you need to be able to utilize your kit correctly. You know, you're not flashing for yourself necessarily. You're not using the utility for yourself all the time. But certainly, your teammates need to be in a position to use that utility when you do. So a free bomb site is going to come out here for Gen.G. I say free. I take that back. You fat boy somehow is out of my vision. Picks up 2. And this is a messy round coming in here. And Gen.G is now in a 2-on-3. They're on the bomb site. Mikhail's going to have a dogfight with somebody up in heaven. That's Decop. He's going to have a long-range Phantom battle versus a Spectre. And it's just, that's not a fight you're going to win, Mikhail, unfortunately. And Gen.G, PL1 now, in a 1v3, has a Spectre in hand. Obviously, is full bonded this round with heavy armor. And I think, you know, after an investment here, you know, you have a little bit of time to work with. You have a minute on the clock. And I think, you know, if you're PL1, you just need to get a free kill here somehow. You got to have a kill where you get a free, you know, piece of map to be able to at least work this 1v3 where you have no idea where the defenders are. They have all the strength, you know, in their favor here. And I wonder whether or not you just save this. Like, this is so tough.
Well, it's bonus round, right? Do
30
some damage.
seconds left.
Why is he? Oh my god. Somehow he still survives, and so will PL1 as he jumps away for safety, and finally as he repeaks, he was killed. And I think it's fine for him to continue to press like that. Like I said, the bonus round comes in for Gen.G. I think the idea there for the Omen there for Gen.G side is if he was able to get that kill, that 1-versus-1 battle, Mikael versus the one up towards heaven, it would have been perfect for him to get the kill and then ult towards the B side where you actually still had player 1 lurking around the heaven where he could cut over rotations. I think that play was there, but as soon as that spike was down, and I was going to say it was a good play from player 1 because I've seen this before where he's like on a 1-versus-4 and he's like, look, I still have a minute to work with. Split is such a small map. I could go for a big play. I thought it was going to go through vents, go back through B heaven, add to spawn, but you saw how Equinox, they know this lurk play from player 1. They had 2 players playing towards screen to even watch back towards the push, whether it's a heaven side or a flank coming in from defender spawn. Just because they had to spike down, they didn't want to press charge. They didn't want to move forward, try to hunt for the kill, knowing that they're at a disadvantage if they lose the gun to the Spectres.
Absolutely. Fair play to them. And it's a wise choice. I mean, ultimately, PL1 maybe goes for some exit kills and tries to clutch the round, but it doesn't matter. Like you said, it's bonus.
Yep.
And for Equinox now, you know, we haven't seen Gen.G's attack in a full fleshed out gun round until this point where it's going to be a slow default, going to work the map. This is not something that these teams have been doing on either of their attack sides across this entire series. And I will say this, that when you're making reads and you're trying to level where the enemies are out on the map, like Split is tough as heck to get a good read on. Most of the reasons are pretty obvious, right? Like the defenders have plenty of concealment. It's tough to hear where they're rotating. Ha! Mina over here with this Judge just shutting down the mid player right away. They back off, have second thoughts about clearing her back out of there. And yeah, a Jet holding a Judge. It's definitely not a relieving
10 seconds.
sight.
You're saving.
10 seconds left.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I really didn't think that they were going to push into Mina there after he got that first kill, but I'm surprised that they didn't move with more urgency. But I guess it's a better position to put yourself in here, right? Because you're going to be back on a full buy. You're not going to be risking, losing your economy in some desperate gambit to planet B. And beyond that, like Mina just happened to be the absolute trump card in a situation where, he was facing certain doom, right? You just happen to have a Judge in a good spot. And that is unfortunate that Gen.G, it kind of omitted the fact that the timer was running down. Ugh, man, this is a slugfest.
Yeah, and I think here in Lex...
Seems...
Sorry, and this answers our question too. Remember when we were talking about that first half, if ever they had the Stingers and they had the money to work with into the third round, will they upgrade? And now that they only had, a Judge and maybe a smaller buy for others, they actually did go for a full Phantom into this round here, so the upgrade did happen. Unless they were already on a buy and then you only
They were already, but...
Okay, so I missed out on everybody
Your point
else.
is still valid, though.
Yeah.
You're still right. And I think, the way Gen.G is approaching this half so far from what we've seen, willing to take it slow, willing to work a pick somewhere, kind of the same way that Equinox was, but moving into a 4 or 5 man hit is obviously what we're looking at here. And so we do have, and this is something that I touched on a little bit in Ascent, like throughout this series, you've just seen a lack of spread across the map, which isn't totally unusual at this point in the game. But I think what is just a lack of willingness to be a lurker, willingness to kind of get behind enemy lines. And I think that's probably a good thing. Teams are playing very clean Valorant at times, and I think a lot of that has to do with the control that they've been exerting. That said, Win is already on the bomb site. Gen.G is flooding in behind him. Mikhail does find one on Amina, so this is a 5v4. Correction, 4v4. Cute Fat Boy finds one at a PL1. Cypher down. Pancakes finds another on a Sean. 3v4. Gen.G not put the spike down yet, as it's in front of that planner at Hell. And it's only a matter of time before GMD crosses to the bomb site to put it down. 15 seconds left on the clock. Shouldn't feel pressured to put it down in any kind of urgency.
10 seconds
I don't
left.
think. Well, actually, here it is.
Is.
Win finds 2, and that might be enough. It's just DXN in a 1v2. He knows where one player is. Up in heaven, knows where the player's sight. Crossfire comes out. Swing from GMD shuts it down. But man, Win not getting hard cleared in that corner. I was actually about to say to you, Vansili, was like, I don't think they're going to go through this smoke when they have the numbers advantage. Was going to be the sentence it came out of my mouth, and they did it anyway, which is bold, knowing that you have somebody planning, right? It's sensible in that way. But man, just to suddenly have that round in the palm of your hands and just throw it away like that is just heartbreaking.
And the thing is, there was 2 blast packs that were thrown in that corner that actually both of them hit Win.
Get out of my
so
way.
I don't know how they didn't hear Win get damaged by that by the blast packs for them to check that corner. So a little bit of a question mark there on the retake there for Equinox. At the same time, though, I still want to commend Gen.G on how they executed into that site, because from the shadows that came in from GND looked for information, towards that screen side, and when he actually got it canceled, spotting those opponents, he was still able to hold down towards middle boxes and still catch the rotation of Mina from B Heaven. So that allowed no rotates to be coming in from Equinox, and everybody was able to focus towards Heaven side and Spawn side as well for Gen.G. So that was one big individual play that allowed the attackers to just secure that round in the end, but somehow they should have cleared that.
Heaven split.
Yeah.
This Heaven split is so strong, and I was going to put a spotlight after you were done talking on this Omen play into ropes from GMD, but it doesn't even matter. The pistol play onto A is so decisive that, okay, I take that back. I thought Pancakes might get caught off guard there. He does not. He holds strong. Mina will fall. Pancake collect 3. Now it's a 2-1-1 with GMD and no hope whatsoever. DXN silences him. And 10-8, Equinox, able to build a bit of a bank here on defense means split becomes much more manageable in terms of your ability to contest, a strong attack from Gen.G. I was going to talk about it, and that's kind of why I started to try and cut you off, at least, Vince.
Sorry, man.
was just like this, I talked about it 2 rounds ago. I said GMD. I meant Mikael. Okay. I'm sure Chad has already corrected me twice. But when players switch around agents, sometimes the caster just sounds dumb. All right. I don't know what to tell you. That said, Mikael getting up there into ropes, the fact that they have not seen that yet in terms of like a threat to them, I hope at some point throughout this half, Gen.G can go back to that strat and we get to see, that lurk actually come to fruition. I didn't bring it up for no reason, but it looks like they have a plan for it. Didn't get to see it there, didn't need it. PL1 looking really aggressive here at A ramp. Finds Cute Fat Boy in an unsuspecting corner.
Oh, he still gets it.
PL1 whips back around and collects Mina, who's looking for that refrag. That was actually a really great reaggress from Mina, knowing that PL1 had crossed back and wasn't going to reaggress that, but PL1 just way too much experience, knows that there's a threat above him, and yeah, that game sense is tingling. Win finds another Equinox quickly falling apart here. And a decisive round so far for Gen.G.
Yeah, and now you're going to have one running into the site. I think at this point, maybe, at this level, they're going to make it into an open site. I was going to say, give them some orbs, because Quinn is sitting right in front of that orb at A main, but they're still going to let the spike get planted instead. But you still have somebody just trying to look around, trying to hunt him down, because they know the economy is still pretty low here for Equinox, especially as they made it into a flawless site from 2 great entries from player 1. So player 1 allows the Gen.G to secure this round here, but they're not really going on a hunt themselves. It was still an expensive round for Gen.G on the attack, because Sean also only has a frenzy into this round here. He's gonna be the only one that's gonna look for that information, but as he saw nobody towards B heaven, the rest of them here are just gonna save their weapons.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have a 3-round gap now that you've secured yourself. You know that Equinox has not really had an answer over here at A. So strategically, you're not really grasping at straws in Gen.G's shoes. Like, this is very manageable attack side that can absolutely end in 13-8 at this point, right? Like, this is a Gen.G half that is looking pretty scary if you're Equinox. And so I wonder whether or not, I look at the scoreboard now. You do get mostly a full buy coming out for Equinox, but, we just check the frag totals to kind of realize that the frag dispersal for Equinox is contrasting to how it was in the last map, right? You had everybody contributing. I won't say they were playing out of their minds, but you had rounds from each individual player, a 2K, a 3K, clutching around. Those rounds are not going Equinox's way currently. So, as far as momentum goes, as far as, where your mindset might be, and certainly whether or not nerves or stress, frustration, anxiety, whatever is getting to you now at this point is really, this is Gen.G's aim to win here, 11-8. It would be, if they somehow lost this match, this would be the round in which I'd point out and be like, this is where things finally turned around for Equinox. This is desperate, I think, for them at this point, and the fact that they have a pretty good read on where Gen.G is on the map. This is pretty safe, but 2 players towards B right now, knowing that they're in B main. The ult does come out through B heaven, doesn't get a thing. And Cute Fat Boy collecting 2. This is big. Sean and Mikael do fall. 5v3. Gen.G looking for a foothold in the bomb site. Win will help to do that with a pick onto Mina. Cute Fat Boy collecting his 3rd win fall.
30 seconds left.
GMD getting sprayed down by pancakes, and now it's just PL1, and this is exactly what you need from Equinox. Is you've effectively, in the minds of Gen.G, you have a 100% foolproof strat that's been working throughout this half, which is the A play.
Yep.
Now, falling back, you're like, okay, maybe we've won a bunch of rounds in a row.
10
Let's
seconds
do a mental
left.
reset. Let's slow the game down a bit. They're going to try and come at us with something different and get aggressive. Let's try B. Just see how they're doing over there. See if they're like trying to get greedy towards A. And I don't know whether or not that was exactly what their thought process was.
Yeah.
They ended up doing that.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, having that player that I was just talking about, like a Cute Fat Boy on the bomb site picking up a 3K, that is what you need. You need people who are, quiet to be stepping up in big situations when they're called upon. And the B play comes out, he shuts it down cleanly, almost single-handedly, Hats off to him, Keith Fatboy. Excellent play. And Gen.G now, you know, probably going to return back to the A play.
I think so too. At this point, as you mentioned here, Lex, they were trying to reset in terms of the amount of pushes that they had towards the A side, which was successful for them. We saw that the jitters were there for Equinox. On that minimap, they were consistently rotating back and forth on his mid side, not being quite sure where they should stack up on. And when it came down to the execution for Gen.G in that B side, I think the timing was off too. Because the flash points that came out from GMD towards that back of the site blinded Mina, but a little bit too late, as he already had free reign on maybe 2 players before he got blinded. So as soon as he gets blinded, he just keeps spraying because of those one-way cage that he put on his side as well. And he was able to get those 2 kills and then just even hold his ground. He stayed alive. He put the camera up to allow his teammates to get the 4th kill. He just held his ground, and nobody was looking towards the back of the site, actually. It was only after when From the Shadows came out from Mikael, but he got sprayed while Cute Fatboy was blind in the back of the site. So I think the timing was off again, where if they choose to work towards his B site, just make sure you clear the back of the site. That's the second mistake that they had. Not only once, second mistake, once on the attack and once on the defense, but not clearing the back of the site.
This is a little bit of a different, I won't say pace, but a different look from Gen.G. They started out towards A main, moved back over to B, then to mid, and split up A ramp, and it seems like they're finally going to contest a B split instead. So they've regrouped, they've reset, and they're moving towards B. Mina catches a hot flash, a second paranoia, and that's bad news because Cute Fatboy is now exposed on the bomb site. He falls. Decop soon to follow. Mina in the smoke.
10 seconds left.
In his tail. Those 3 kills came so fast, there was no chance for Equinox to mount any sort of defense. Not a single point of damage on Gen.G so far. Wow. Beautiful. Pancakes pressed to the back of the wall in his own spawn. Just desperately looking for a free one from GMD will be given. A nice shot onto Sean. I won't count this man out yet. He had a 1v5, well, it wasn't 1v5 clutch ace, but had an ace clutch sort of earlier in the game, and it was beautiful.
Yeah,
doesn't happen here. And Peter Pancakes, Gen.G poised to take this match. Map and match point, excuse me.
And like you said here, Lex,
and the series.
It was beautiful the way that they changed the pace on that execution, because at first the cloudburst came in from Wind towards the A heaven side, and Equinox was like, oh crap, they're gonna come towards this split towards the A side as well. They forced Pancakes to actually throw out his showstopper and shoot it towards the A ramp, thinking that split was happening. But then just one single cloudburst allowed for them to go back through ropes and execute from B heaven into the site. So then you have their GMD with the flashpoints as the breach up into B heaven into the site that forced players from rotating inside the site onto pillar, where the paranoia came in from Mikael in front of B main that totally blinded them and allowed them to get those entries into the site. That was just a beautiful play executed for Gen.G to overtake that site. That was totally different from what I saw before. But this round though, a fault light comes down, Pancakes comes out, and they get the first kill into this round. So that forces Gen.G to get back and to backtrack into A main, where Win opens up with a huge kill into the site. We're trying to hold the grounds for Decop, trying to slow it down for a bit, but player 1 punishes him after the first flashpoint that came out. This could be it here, where Gen.G could finally win versus Equinox in its best out of 3, fighting into 3rd map, and things are looking finally clear on another A side push on their side.
Wow, these picks from Win are just cracking open the defense, and Gen.G, I mean, this is their round. Fatboy in a 1v4. Gonna find GMD, but Win quickly follows with a 3rd of his own on the round. And wow, what a...